Hi, I'm Marilyn. I am 26 years young. So I am a wife, a mother of a wonderful girl. I'm a wife of a wonderful man too. I love to cook, like I love all things, cooking, food, anything, you name it, I'm there. I'm an only daughter to some amazing parents, only sister to 4 amazing brothers. I enjoy life. I try to enjoy life as much as I can. I have been told I am annoyingly positive. I try to be positive about anything, you name it. It can be the worst day ever. I'll probably cry, then I'll be like, come on guys, let's do this. And I've recently found out that a lot of people find that really annoying, but I think it's cool. I can come across a bit funny and a bit cheesy, like right now probably, you know. No, but generally just a fun-loving person. Love people, love to get to meet new people, love to help people, love to enjoy life. What you see is what you get, really. My favourite thing to do is probably to cook for people. To cook some sort of dish so I can basically just show off my cooking skills and have people say how amazing the food is. I won't even lie. My favourite thing to cook, do you know what? My favourite thing to cook is curry goat, especially when I've got a Caribbean friend round, just so they can tell me how close it is to the most legitimate curry goat that they've had, like from their auntie, grandma, or even in Jamaica. So I spent years being silent, and I definitely believe that that silence led to a lot of internal frustration within myself. It led to a lot of negative characteristics, and it led to me feeling rather ashamed, and I don't really want people to go through that. And I've always, for as long as I can remember, I've said to God, you know, I want my life to be an example and I want to help people. And I've just come to the point where I'm not ashamed of anything. I don't feel like I'm a victim, I'm a victor instead. And I just want to be able to help people by sharing my story, help someone else overcome. So that's why, really. At the age of 4, I was sexually abused. I didn't speak about it until I was 16 years old, and those 12 years were such a, I guess, a whirlwind. There was a lot of other stuff going on, so having to deal with that too and trying to understand what it was that had happened to me was really crazy. That's the only way, I can't think of another word to explain it. I was potty trained, and then I remember my mum saying that I just started wetting the bed, and I literally wet the bed from probably around the age of 4 till 16, and the day I realised I stopped wetting the bed was when I finally told somebody what had happened to me at the young age of 4. And I just realised that there's just so much power in speaking and just talking and just letting things off your chest. And how it happened, I'll just go back to the beginning of how it happened. And how it happened is actually the reason why I didn't talk about it for so long, because I didn't understand. I was actually in school, and it was kids who were in my class, and well, they weren't in my class, they were older year, in an older year group than myself, and these boys actually used to bully me quite a bit, but no one really believed what I was saying. I would get in trouble for things that these boys did, and yeah, it just got to one day where they were just really physical with me, touching me in inappropriate places and doing certain things. Yeah, I don't want to be too graphic because I'm not sure who's watching this and the threshold of what people can take, but that is essentially what happened, and I just didn't really understand it. So I made a decision there and then at the age of 4 that I was going to do anything within my power to not be feminine. So I despised my femininity. So my favourite colour was blue because I assumed that the favourite colour of boys was blue, you know. So I was like, okay, if I do everything and I like things that guys like, then that will prevent me from getting hurt, because I assumed that it was because I was a girl that they did this to me, because these boys had been picking on me for a while, and I just assumed it was because I was a girl, because they were two boys, they weren't picking on each other, and they picked on me. So obviously I'm a 4-year-old. My comprehension and the way my thought processes were very different to what it would be if I were an adult or a teenager. And I was quite mature for my age, so it was in hindsight, that's a really big decision for a 4-year-old to make. Like, I'm not going to be feminine, so that's what I did. I was into football by force. I had the biggest trainer collection ever. My dad used to buy me trainers upon trainers, and I was so proud, and I hung around with all the guys in school, and I loved it. But yeah, within me, I didn't know who I was, because I felt like a piece of me had been taken away. I didn't understand, like, there was no sense of self-identity. I grew up with amazing parents. They loved me. They spoke to me. My dad's actually a minister. He's a pastor. And my parents have been in ministry. They spoke to me about, you know, my identity in Christ and who God says I am. But I never really grasped it, because I still felt like there was this question mark over my head of what had happened when I was 4. And then at the same time, it's like, how does this happen in school? Will anyone believe me? So yeah, that weighed me down for quite a bit of my life until I was 16. And basically at the age of 14, we moved to the United States, and that literally turned my world upside down, because I had gone from being in a familiar place around people I knew to go into a very unfamiliar place, and I didn't know how to cope. I was no longer the extremely bubbly person. I didn't approach people like I thought I would. But little did I know that was going to be the best thing for me. I fell into, after being in the States for about a year or 2, I fell into a depressive state where I found it really hard to just function, and I didn't like the space I was in, the space being that country, because it wasn't what I was used to. I couldn't adjust. Everyone in school had been friends for years. Everyone at church had been friends for years. And I felt like I didn't fit in. And so once again, I had this question mark of my identity and who I am hanging over me, and it just felt like it had become bigger. And I remember opening up to a wonderful couple in the church, in my dad's friend's church, and we became really close. And it was really rare, because at the time I wasn't the sort of person who opened up to people about things. What you got was what you saw was what you got. That was it, point blank. Yeah, and I just realised that I had a lot inside me, and we just started talking. And I remember opening up to the couple and talking to one of them and just saying that, you know, talking about what happened to me when I was 4 years old, and talking about how I didn't understand it. And I remember the gentleman in the couple, like in the husband, he was like, this is what happened to you. You were sexually abused, and I need you to accept that. And I was like, I don't like you. You cannot say that to me. Who do you think you are? That is wrong. And he was like, you need to accept this happened to you. This is the only way you're going to be able to overcome it. If not, you're going to be in this depressive state. You're going to be up and down, and there's just not going to be any stability. So I started actually Googling, because I didn't understand what happened to me. I actually Googled like some of the things that were done to me physically, because I just couldn't comprehend that it could happen to me, or that children could do this to another child. And I started finding cases of where it happened in schools, and, you know, it had happened to other children of a young age. And I realized that it's real. Like, I didn't, even though I know it happened at times, I thought I made it up, and I thought I imagined it, and I was like, but I can't, because I'm essentially messed up because of it. So it's not something I imagined. And yeah, I just accepted it, that that's what had happened. And it wasn't easy. I had many questions. Being of the Christian faith, I was like, God, why? You know, I was just like, I was just born, I was a kid, didn't ask for any of this, you know, didn't really have the ability to sin at the age of 4, so couldn't have been a punishment, so I don't really understand why. Not that I was perfect, nobody is perfect, do you know what I mean? But I mean, I was 4, so I didn't really understand why, you know, this was allowed to happen to me. And I guess it's just been such a journey and a process where after that time of admitting it, I realised I stopped wetting the bed for one, which was like, I think that was the first step of freedom for me. Like, oh my gosh, like this is literally what has been holding me, because sometimes I was a bit worried to stay over at someone's house because I was scared I'd wet the bed. I actually did wet the bed at some, like throughout my childhood. If I did stay with 1 or 2 people, I would wet the bed. It'll be embarrassing because there's other kids there, and then you know things like that. So it was just really great that, okay, that was gone at least. And then I just decided to work on my relationship with God, because all I knew was my whole life there was somebody there, even in the darkest moments. And I thought it was going to get easy straight away, but it got dark. It got very, very dark. And the only way I can describe it when I talk to people is like it's like I was a drug addict going through withdrawal symptoms. I would literally, I had a walk-in closet, and I would literally sit in my closet and I would have chills, and I would have sweats, and I would cry. And my parents knew none of it, not because they're bad parents, but because I can conceal things. That's just how I am, and I chose to conceal it from them. And I would literally just break into tears and sweats, and just trying to try and get some understanding of why this happened, and what this means, and who does this mean I am, and what do I do from this stage onwards. And it was intense, but it was necessary. It was hard, it was painful. I can't say that I know exactly what drug addicts go through, but from what I've seen in documentaries and stuff, that's exactly what was going on with me. It was like there was something that had to come out of my system. I have no idea. I can't even explain it. And I just decided to just grab life by the horns, try and live life as normally as possible, knowing that there's not something wrong with me. I'm not a bad person. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I started to become a lot more outgoing. I tried to actually enjoy the new country that I was in, because I had spent so much time just hating it. And yeah, it became quite a bit better for me. In that time, God really spoke to me about how he was going to use me. And at this time, my relationship with God was like on and off. And I was just like, God, you know, we're not really tight like that, so I don't really know how you're going to use me to help people. But, you know, if you say so, I mean, you've never really lied before, so that's kind of how I was with it. I didn't really take it seriously. But I wrote down everything he ever said to me about that. And I just continued with life, really. I didn't really dwell too much on it. You know, it's not like I was perfect. I still had certain emotional issues. You know, like I had developed anger issues over the years. Back in my school in London, people would tell you that, anyone who went to school with me would tell you that Marilyn was a bit wild, and if you got on her wrong side, it is as if a world war was about to break out, you know. And that had been from all the years of bottling up everything, because once you bottle up one thing that's happened to you, it becomes natural to start bottling up other things, you know. So you don't talk about your feelings, you don't talk about your emotions, you know, you don't even show them. And I'm saying you, I should say me. I'm not trying to make a sweeping generalized statement, but you know, that's just how it was for me. And at this point, I just started to embrace my emotions. So I was upset. I started to experience other things other than anger. I was upset, I was happy, genuinely. I started to kind of grasp what it felt like to have joy. And I guess for me, it was a good place to be in. I started to think more about my future, and I took a step and I said, okay, I'm gonna move back to the United Kingdom without my parents, because they were doing the things that they were supposed to do in the States. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to university, I'm going to go and live my life. So in 2009 I moved back to England, and it was an interesting period. I felt very alone because obviously I'd been away for 4.5 years and everyone's changed, everyone's got new friends. My old best friend told me I was boring because I was too into Jesus and I didn't want to be as rowdy as before, and that really hurt me. If you're watching this, I forgive you though, it's cool, you know we're still girls, but just disclaimer. So I just felt really alone and really lost, and I was trying to find myself, and I really felt like nobody understood me, and it brought back a lot of feelings of how I felt my whole life, you know, like no one understood me and my emotional needs because I had gone through this, and yeah, it was just really difficult. And then I remember I went to my friend's party and I met this guy, and he seemed like a really nice guy, and obviously feeling a bit lonely, attention from a guy. I was like, yeah, well, I'm not really used to this. This is cool, because I'd never really given guys the time of day anyway. So, because I used to, like I said, I believed I was one of the guys, isn't it? So I don't really give guys time of day. So it was really cool. It seemed really cool anyway to get attention from a guy, and yeah, it was interesting. We were talking, and then one day he invited me around to his sister's place to watch movies, and now I honestly believed we were going to watch movies, because being one of the guys, as I was, if the guys invited you around for movies, you were going to watch a movie. So I went round to his house, or his sister's house, and things got a bit, you know, physical, and you know, I was just like, I don't know about this, but you know, I went along with it. And then after a while, when things, you know, went from hugging and, you know, a bit of smooching, I was like, you know, I'm not really down for this. And you know, it was weird. I had a guy telling me, oh, it's okay, and I'm like, no, I'm cool. And like before I even realized it had happened, I had been violated. I had said no, and this guy thought it was okay to do it. And I guess for me, what made it worse was at the end, when he was done, he told me he felt like he had taken something so precious. And I will tell you now, as saved as I am right now, and I have dealt with it now, at that time I wanted to beat him to the ground, because it was a thing for me. If you heard me say no, I was saying no, I was trying to push you off me, then you have the audacity to now tell me that you feel you had taken something precious. And for me, it was like, you knew what you were doing the whole time. Not you feel, you knew you were about to take something precious. Because unfortunately for me, that was my first sexual encounter with somebody. That's how it happened. Because before, what I mentioned being sexually abused when I was younger, it was more things done to me and yeah, things like that, but it wasn't a full-on sexual experience. And this was my first full-on sexual experience, and for me, it's like I would have liked to have consented to that, even if it was like outside of marriage, like at least let me consent. So I think it threw me into a really crazy place. I felt like this had undone all the work that I had done, like it was just gone. That's how I felt. You know, I had been a cautious person. I felt like I was a smart person, and at the time I was just like, how could this happen to me? And I shut down from like my emotions. And I remember trying to open up to somebody about it, and they told me it was my fault. And for me, at times I can be a bit stubborn. I was just like, it's my fault, yeah? I was like, okay, cool. And I just completely, I just shut it all down. I just put it down to the bottom, literally like, okay, we don't talk about that. And I had decided I was going to take it to my grave. I was never going to tell anyone. I made a vow to myself. I said, you will never share this. You will take it to your grave. Your mother, your father, your future husband, anyone will never know about this. And it became hard, because then I would hear people talk about subjects of rape and talking about how, well, just because somebody was raped, they doesn't mean they should do this. And I found myself getting really angry, like, what do you know? You don't know about this. You don't know what you're talking about. You need to just be quiet. And then I had to just, and I realized, and the people look at me like, why is she so touchy about this? And I would just sometimes think, okay, Marilyn, why are you acting like this? And it's just, I think that was my little signal, or my, I don't know what it was, something reminding me that you shut something down and it really is tugging on you and pulling on you. You cannot ignore it. You have to deal with it, and you have to do something about it, because you said you wanted your life to be an example to others. So this kept happening. People would talk about, I find myself in conversations where people are talking about rape, people are talking about sexual abuse, people are saying it's this person's fault, and I'm getting angry. I'm like, how can you say it's somebody's fault? You don't know. How do you know? You don't know the emotions that somebody feels when they're going through this. You don't know the way that this person blames themselves. You have no idea, yet you are talking. And I think for me, when it hit me that I needed to deal with it, was when someone said to me, but you don't know either. And I was like, within me, I was like, but I do. But I didn't want to say anything, because I didn't want someone to tell me it was my fault. Because I had wondered if it was my fault. And it wasn't until, I guess, I think it was 2013. No, let me rewind. 2012. So if you remember, I said I was here because I decided to come back to university and do my thing. So I came back to England by myself, and I went to uni, and I struggled in uni. I hustled in uni. I worked hard in uni. I walked because I didn't have money. Like, I fought, and I know I'm putting emphasis on how much I went through in uni, and I know I'm not the only one who did it, but just let me land. I went through, I sacrificed, I did so much, I went without, I put my all into it. And you know what, in my third year, I was literally just struck with illness, was struck with all sorts of things, anxiety. And for me, I still fought through it. Because if there's anything, I'll just come out of this right now to tell you, if there's anything I've learned from my experiences, no matter what you go through, if you have the mental willpower and you have the strength, it's not going to break you. And I refused to let anything break me. So I went through that. Trust me, that period of uni, especially my third year, I fought through it. And at the end of it, unfortunately, I did not get the result I wanted. And when I say my heart was broken, literally, I didn't know you could feel heartbreak. When I found out my results, I was on the phone to a friend and I shrieked and I cried uncontrollably. And do you know why I cried uncontrollably? Because, let me rewind. I came back to England to go to university. When I came back, I was raped. But I said to myself, you know what? As long as I get what I came here for, as long as I achieve what I came here for, it will be worth it. I didn't get what I expected. So for me, it felt like I was literally just like, God, you allowed all of these things to happen and I didn't get what I came here for. Who are you? What are you? How can you think it's okay to do this? So I literally, like, I was just in a state. And I remember my dad calling me one Sunday. I called my dad one Sunday morning. I said, I'm not going to church. And he said, wait, you are about to blame God. Before those words come out of your mouth, let me tell you something. And my dad told me something that till today, I don't know why. I'm still asking God why. He told me that 6 weeks before I got my results, that God told him that I wasn't going to get the positive outcome that I wanted. And I'm not trying to preach, I'm not trying to do any of that, but for me it just doesn't make sense. There has to be, I'm sitting here and I'm crying and I'm saying, you allowed me to go through being raped. You knew that I hadn't quite dealt with what had happened to me when I was forlorn, but you allowed this to happen to me again when I was 18. Now, I struggled and I went through and I was like, you know what, no, I've come here, I'm gonna keep my mind on this. And it was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just the craziest thing to know that God had told my dad that. It let me know that he was still there. Because why would he tell somebody, my dad or not, that, you know, I wasn't gonna get the favourable result that I wanted? Like, why would he do that? Like, there had to be more to it. And that's when it came back to me that, you know what, I said I wanted my life to be an example. So I just picked myself up and I just decided, good or bad result from uni, this is the job I wanted, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to move on with my life, and I'm going to prove that no matter what happens to you, you can still live your life. So I went on and I did that. I studied advertising. I got a job in advertising, like fantastic. Then, right before I got this job in advertising, I had a mini breakdown. I was in a relationship and it failed. And I literally just had a breakdown. I attempted to kill myself. I remember taking pills upon pills upon pills upon pills just because I was tired. And yeah, like, I took those pills, and I remember a friend of mine, he was supposed to come to my place, was supposed to pray, and then was supposed to go do something because we were working on some stuff together. And he was like, I can't get through to you, I can't, like, buzz me up. And I was like, no. And he was literally like, what have you done? And I was like, it's fine, just leave me. And he was like, if you don't let me in, I am going to call every emergency service I can, and we're gonna break down this door and we're gonna come and get you. So I let him in, and I remember feeling just so, I had never felt so low. It sounds crazy because you'd think that after I was raped I felt low. Yeah, I did, but I had never felt this low to the point where I felt like life wasn't worth living. But I thank God for a great support system around me, because in that, I remember that was the day I told my parents everything that had happened to me. I told them, they had no idea, and I felt liberated. And that was the day. The worst day of my life also was kind of like the beginning of so much, because that's where the passion to share my story came from. That's where my passion to empower people came from. That's where my passion to say that, you know what, whatever has happened to you in life, you can still live a normal life. Do you know what I mean? You can still be normal. You don't have to be a statistic. So that is, in a sense, my story. It may sound all over the place, it may not fit into your mold, it may not be as composed as you thought it would be, but that is me. My life hasn't fit into a mold. I'm not as composed as I should be. I don't have it together as I should do. I'm never gonna have it all together. I'm not perfect. I'm just working, you know, striving to be like Christ. And yeah, there's so much more I could say. But you know what, if you've been affected by any of the issues that I have shared in this video, and that you will hear from other people, speak out about it. Get the right people. Don't get somebody who will blame you. Let me tell you now, if you're sitting there and you're thinking it's your fault, it's not your fault. It is not right. There is something wrong with the person who did that to you, not you. So don't blame yourself. And if you have been through it and you feel like your life cannot be normal, I am an example. And there are so many examples of how your life can be normal. There are celebrities who are examples. There are ordinary people who are examples. I ain't no ordinary person now. But I'm just saying, you know, I'm not a celebrity, but I'm special. And you're special too, all jokes aside. Like, I'm a wife, I'm a mum. I'm a leader in my church. I do things, I have friends. I joke, I just live normal life, and it is possible, you know. And it's possible to get to a point where you're no longer angry and bitter, and because it could be somebody who you're going through that stage of the anger in the business and you wonder if that will ever go away. I can honestly say to you, I don't get angry about that anymore, that I was sexually abused or I was raped. I don't get angry about it anymore. I have truly dealt with it, and I wish I had more time to talk about how I dealt with it, but yeah, I've dealt with it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but you know, there are emotional issues that come from that. So there are certain things, I'm not trying to say I'm perfect, but the anger and the rage I used to have, and I used to have a desire to destroy the man's life, like I don't have that anymore. It's just like, you're there, I wish you the best, you live your life, I live mine, I pray you never hurt anybody. If you do, I pray you get the justice, you know, you get that justice is served. That is it, just normal. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, and I'm gonna say, speak out. Don't feel like you're any less of a person. You are awesome. We aren't victims, we are victors. It could have killed us, it didn't. Could have made us go crazy, but it didn't. We are still here, and we are still here for a reason. Nothing, to me, there's no such thing as coincidence. I don't believe my God does things by coincidence. I don't think it's by accident that I'm in my right mind despite what happened to me. Unfortunately, it does drive some people crazy, but if you are able to watch this video and you are able to comprehend what I'm saying and you are able to take it in, ask yourself why, and even after all that has happened to you and the emotional strain and the emotional stress that has been placed on you through that experience, you are still able to function somewhat normally. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you were able to do that. So that's been my story, and I hope it blesses you. I am Marilyn Derugo, and I am renewed.